Hello and welcome to episode number 75 of The Pitcher or the Hitter, the podcast by the M-SABR Dynasty League for the M-SABR Dynasty League. I am Cam.
I'm Sahil.
And 75 episodes. What a milestone and what a great week to celebrate that milestone. Lots of matchups. Early on in the week, they looked like blowouts, but four, maybe even five of the matchups looked like they could have flipped on the final day. At least four of them. I was worried about mine. You don't think I should have been worried about mine?
I don't think you should have been worried about yours since like Wednesday, and maybe even not at all.
I don't know. It was iffy last night, but
iffy was a stretch. I'll explain that more when we talk about your matchup. But
a lot of matchups that really did not look like they were going to be close really came down to the wire, particularly that Ruthvik versus Clayton and Jake matchup. That one turned into a doozy. Jake barely pulled out the victory. We'll talk about that all later. But speaking of Ruthvik, I think we need a Kyle Wright update. It's not often a trade needs an immediate update, but this one did. My God, what has been going on there?
Yeah, we talked last week, and I think you had the phrase of the episode last week when you were like, "This trade is either going to be just irrelevant, or it's going to be like one of the most lopsided trades in league history." And what you also dub a simultaneous buy high and buy low. And Kyle Wright came out and in his last start, 6 innings, shutout innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 11 strikeouts against the Marlins. I think we alluded to this one last week, but didn't go through all the numbers. But the start before that against the Padres, 5 innings, 2 earned, 5 hits, 9 Ks, no walks. Kyle Wright's big problem in the past has been control. He's only walked 2 guys. He's only given up 2 runs in 17 innings. Man, that trade's not looking good for Ruthvik right now.
Yeah, Kyle Wright. And again, it's just 3 starts, but Kyle Wright seems like he's unlocked something. Yeah. And he's not like a late career breakout or anything. He's 25. He's kind of a guy coming into his own and showing his potential.
Yeah, he's 26. He before this year has had let's see if I could do quick mental math, like roughly like 70 innings. I think actually exactly 70 innings in the majors before this year. So that's not like a huge sample. He was very good in the minors last year, and yeah, I mean, it seems like he has unlocked something. Different pitch mix, different something. It's working. And I think Anthony Bender just got hurt too. I saw the day-to-day tag next to his name. Cool. He's dealing with hip soreness, so he was unavailable today for what was a save opportunity for the Marlins. Not that it would have flipped Ruthvik's matchup. He still would have been down 1 in saves, but oh man, that trade is not aging well.
It is not, and again, it's early. Very, very early. The first couple months after Erik traded for Ohtani, that looked bad for him. And obviously now it looks very good for him. So, yeah, it's hard to say a week into a trade. But yeah, this has the potential to be bad.
Yeah, and it looks like Ruthvik recognized that trading away one Brave starting pitcher was not a good idea, so he went out and acquired another Brave starting pitcher, and Huascar Ynoa, for a 2026 second-round pick with Erik, and I did not like this trade for Ruthvik. Ynoa just got demoted. He has not looked particularly good. He wasn't good when he came back from the injury last year. He's a 2-pitch pitcher. I don't really know if he has like a high upside, for sticking around as like a really quality member of their rotation. I think Erik was just trying to dump him because I didn't get the sense Erik really wanted to stash him on his Erik session Leody Taveras on a non-prospect spot, and I didn't get the sense he wanted to get rid of Leody Taveras because Erik loves Leody Taveras. So I think Erik probably would have given him away for like a 3rd round pick, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, maybe Erik insisted on a second, but like he probably would have just cut Ynoa. I don't know why Ruthvik won him for a second.
Yeah, I agree. This feels like the type of guy who would have just been either cut or third round pick. So him going for a second is surprising. He did. I mean, his numbers from last year were really good. His FIP was under 4. He struck out nearly 10 batters per 9. And he gave up a couple of homers in a small sample size this year, but that doesn't mean a ton. I don't know. You said he's a 2-pitch pitcher, so maybe there's some shades of Chris Paddock there, having a solid first full season in the majors, but not doing much after. I don't know. I think is a decent guy to gamble on. I guess I feel like you might as well, but I don't know if giving up a second for him is good value. I wouldn't call any deal of one guy for a second rounder to be a terrible thing, but I think if this had been, for a third, I think it would have been a fair deal.
Yeah, I think for a third, it's a fine deal. I think you overpaid a little bit. I don't mind Ruthvik gambling on him. I think you're right. It's just like that was way too high of a price for, so sometimes you have to read the market. When you see a guy who just got demoted and a team needs to get rid of him to clear the roster spot, kind of read the room. And maybe there's another team who's willing to throw a third round pick and Ruthvik had to bid up. I don't know. I will say though, his splits last year, 2.96 ERA in April, 3.12 in May. Then he punches that wall, if you remember that. 6.75 in 5 starts in
That's right, he did that,
September. A 2.60 in 3 games in August, though, and a 5.40 in 1 start in October. So the numbers definitely got worse. Breaking news, McCutchen just hit a single. There's one matchup that still looks like it's kind of in play. That is Anthony and Andrews. And McCutchen is on first. I believe Anthony really needed was McCutchen to hit a home run there, but he can take the runs lead if McCutchen comes around and scores.
Yeah, the runs lead's not going to flip the matchup. He needed a homer to force the tie.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to do much of anything for him unless they go into extras and McCutchen does come back around and hits a home run. This could be nice for me, though, because Christian Yelich is now up with runners on first and third and 1 out. He's 0 for 3 with 2 Ks tonight. Maybe he can play.
Well, Corey Knebel is currently pitching right now. How badly would he have to get blown up to give up whip? That's not particularly close, is it?
It's 1.19 whip to a 1.26 whip. David Bednar kind of struggled for Anthony whip-wise in his save against the Cubs. And I think that their whip was a lot closer before, but I think that kind of spoiled those chances. He gave up a walk and 2 hits in that inning. I don't think he's going to catch him anywhere else. So yeah. I think that matchup is pretty much set. I guess the only other matchup we're looking at is my matchup with Conor and the unlikely chance Rhys Hoskins gets 2 or more runs, more than Yelich and Castellanos does. That would flip the matchup. I don't think that's going to happen. I think for all intents and purposes, all the matchups are settled now. We're not going to get, hopefully, if you all do recall from last year, we did have a Rhys Hoskins moment that flipped a matchup live on the air. And
not going to happen this time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen this time. Even if the Brewers take the lead here, Hoskins would not come up for several more batters. He's a number 2 hitter. The number 5 hitter would lead off the inning. And if the number 2 hitter did come up, presumably the Phillies would have already won the game by that point because that would be the 7th batter of the inning. So it does not look like these matchups are going to flip. But speaking of flips, there was another trade we need to talk about. I'm on fire with these trades. I am so proud of myself. But if you get deja vu, as Christian Yelich skies one out to left field, and that will score a run. The Brewers have the lead. if you're getting deja vu, because I just said deja vu, so I guess you're getting deja vu from that deja vu. But the Current Zone has agreed to send Anthony's 2023 third to Boat with the Flow for Kuhl Winn. The reason I'm saying deja vu is this is the second time that Kuhl Winn has been traded for a third round pick. Cam traded 2021 third for Kuhl Winn on October 12th of 2020. And this is the second time that Kuhl Winn has been traded from Jake's team to Andrew's team. On August 25th of 2020, Jake traded Jake Cronenworth, Jordan Romano, and Kuhl Winn to Andrew for Alex Verdugo and Zach Davies, and a deal that's actually looking really good for Andrew right now. What did you think of this deal?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about this deal. It's kind of a funny little trade. But I mean, I would have given up more than a third for Kuhl Winn, or I would have at least given up that amount for him. I would have given up a second for Kuhl Winn. I think Kuhl Winn's, he's the top 75, top 50 prospect on most lists. I am shocked that this was all it took, and maybe I should have responded quicker to the offer, because that's a steal for Andrew.
Yeah, I think so too. If you flip the return of the Ynoa and the Winn deals, I think these would have both been perfectly fine, and we really wouldn't have had much to say about either of those deals.
But my question is, why did Jake feel the need to trade Kuhl Winn suddenly? It felt like a fire sale, as if he was like forced to cut him or something.
I think he wanted to pick up Victor Acosta and the Cowboys.
Why though? Why instead of Kuhl Winn?
I'm not really sure.
Those guys are not better than Kuhl Winn.
I think they would have sticked around in the free agent market too. It's like with me, like there's a couple guys I always like pick up and drop because I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna like pick them up, and I'm like, nobody else is on them but me. I feel like that happens at least like one or two players a year. I kind of question that. Or at the very least, if you want to move Kuhl Winn, just move him in a bigger deal or something. I don't know. Like a third round pick just kind of seems like a waste. But hey, everybody to each their own. I do have breaking news though.
Oh.
It is now 6-6 in the hockey finals as Evil got a special teams goal.
Oh shit! Who scored?
I do not know. Erik just texted me the eyes emoji. It was Ryan Johansson.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So 6-6. See how the goalies are doing. Yeah, Knight's still giving up 5 goals. And
so you got GAA back, I guess. What happened? Did Fleury give up a goal?
Fleury
gave up a couple goals.
Yeah, he's giving up 3. Wow. Okay. I guess 6-6 still means Andrew wins.
It does. And you would need.
Plus minus is still close. He's only up +1 there.
But 6-6, and if Husso comes back and wins, that's a win for Evil.
Yeah, that's a win for Evil. Plus minus could still flip. We now have the lead. It is now 6-5 to 1. We tied it up on plus minus, but then Andrew immediately went up +1 on plus minus. It's back to 6-6. I think we both had a player.
I think they must have counted. There must have been someone on both your teams on the ice at the same time, and they counted your guy a fraction of a second first.
Yeah, god damn. Yeah, they got me there for a second.
We will be bringing you live updates from this the rest of the night. It's going to be fun for. It'll be fun for Andrew and Erik when they listen back to this, at least on Tuesday, already knowing which one of them has won.
Yes. Well, it'll be fun for one of them.
It'll be fun for one of them. You're right.
You and I will certainly have fun doing the breaking news as we're going through it. I will definitely have it up.
We will. We were saying this off air, and I'm sure I'm going to say this tomorrow in the hockey chat anyway. But it's really funny that the team that might win its second straight championship is not the villain. The villain is the other team. It's
Oh,
kind of a funny quirk about the league.
Isn't that kind of the point, though? It's like, at some point, the good guy always beats the villain, at the end, just right when the villain, like when shit hits the fan and everybody's like, oh, it's over, the villain's going to win, the superhero comes out of nowhere.
Okay.
I guess Artemi Panarin, is that how you pronounce his name?
Artemi
Panarin, thank you. I guess he's just a superhero. And his superpower is he's very good at making bread, I guess.
I think that is. And Andrew Mangiapane's superpower is that he's really good at eating bread.
I guess so. You know who Artemi Panarin kind of reminds me of? Who's that kid from Home Alone? Macaulay I can't pronounce.
Macaulay Culkin.
Thank you. This is
Kieran
not my
Culkin's brother
for pronouncing names, but yeah,
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Thank you. That's kind of who he reminds me of, like in the face a little bit.
Anyway, we will give you updates on that throughout the night, but we have.
I hope that stays in somewhere.
No, it's gonna stay in.
Oh, great.
Why not? This is going to be a short episode anyway, I imagine.
Yeah. We didn't have 4 trades to talk about like last week. You wanna dive into some of these matchups here?
Yes, we have some matchups to talk about.
We do.
Great, fun, exciting all around week in our league. Where do we want to go first? How about Erik versus EBO? This was one Erik looked like he was going to win by a lot for most of the week, but EBO kind of chipped back. They ended up tying quality starts by the end of the week. It was 6-3-3. This was a matchup for both belts. Both belts were in play, the winner's belt and the loser's belt, but they're going to stay where they were with Erik beating EBO. But I guess one of the most interesting things about this was OBP watch for Erik. And batting has been down this week tremendously all across the league, particularly in OBP. And the two of us have kind of been on low record-breaking OBP watch since Thursday. We noticed on Thursday that Anthony's on-base percentage was 220. It bottomed out at 219 before kind of climbing over the weekend. He finished at, he's at 299 at the time of recording. And it'll finish that way unless McCutchen bats again.
But he was ended. Alec Boehm hit a ball to the warning track. It looked like a home run off the bat. Hits it to the warning track. It's caught. And that's your ball game. A 1-0 win for the Brewers. All scores are final.
All right. All scores are final. But we noticed that Anthony was in serious danger of breaking the record for worst on-base percentage. Yeah. That didn't happen. But then we kind of noticed that Erik was kind of teetering down there. He was below the current record for worst on-base percentage, which is 258, 258.1 specifically.
Yeah.
And then yesterday on Saturday, we noticed, hey, the Flex and Bellies are down there. They're below 258. We had 3 different teams Thursday or later worse than the worst on base percentage we've ever seen in a given week. The Bellies kind of rallied today. They had over the course of today, 269. They were 354 today. Erik additionally finished the week at 267. He had a 350 or 385 on base percentage today. He also drove in 11 runs. 11 of his 33 runs he drove in today. Wow.
My God.
But OBP watch. We very nearly saw 3 historically bad weeks, but that kind of sums it up. A lot of teams had bad weeks on offense. Erik won 7 homers to 6, but they tied with 33 RBIs. But both teams pitched really well too. So it's just kind of that kind of week, I guess.
I mean, 6-3-3 and literally came down to the last at bat. Like Zane had 2 chances with Mancini and Santander in the 4 o'clock game, where if either one of them hit a home run, this would have turned into a tie matchup. They were tied at several points today. I don't think I ever saw an EBO lead, interestingly, though. I saw them tied at a lot of different points.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and not a good week from Erik with the bat, but the pitching was really solid. Kind of a traditional Erik pitching week. It's really weird seeing EBO and Erik tied in quality starts after what EBO did last year in quality starts. But they're a really strong week for EBO's pitching. Their hitting wasn't anything to write home about. And it's funny because the hitting stats for both of these teams are basically identical. Like Erik had one more double and one more home run. They tied in runs and RBIs. Erik had one more stolen base. EBO had 41 more OBP points. But all the other stats, they were just one apart in. It just happened to be that all three of the offensive categories where they were one apart, Erik had one more. So Erik took the win. But, I mean, this is about as even of a matchup as we've seen in quite some time. This easily could have flipped the other way if one or two things happened differently.
Absolutely. So Erik will go to 2-0. But moving on to another matchup that could have flipped.
I will say, before we go to this next matchup, EBO at 0-2. Are you worried about them?
A little bit. They played Erik hard this week. I'm not super worried. However, no team that has ever started 0-2 has ever made the playoffs. That has never happened in our league. In 2018, EBO started 0-1-1, and they ended up making the finals. But no team that has ever been 0-2 has ever made the playoffs. So that is worrisome for EBO. Granted, they did start the season against me and Erik, two of the top 3 teams in the league. So that's certainly other teams have not started against such a tough schedule. But it's something to look into because now they go face Conor, which is going to be a tough matchup. And then they face Ruthvik, and Ruthvik's looking solid. That could be 0-4. And then they face, God, this schedule is not getting easier. Andrew looks solid, and Jake looks really good. EBO could, and then they face you. What? EBO could start 0-7.
Yeah.
This could spiral very quickly. I'm seeing.
No, it could. And like, I already thought their team was maybe a little worse from wear in some positions than they were last year. But man, I mean, the schedule gets a lot easier, like in the middle and the end. But like, they still have to play me twice. I think they only play you once the way the schedule worked out, and it was just week 1. I don't think they play you again.
That is correct. Yeah, that's their only.
That's an interesting quirk. But then they still have to play Erik another time, and they still have 2 matchups against Conor. So yeah, you're right. This is they are playing 3 of the 4 semifinalists in the first 3 weeks. That is very evil.
Very evil.
This is very evil indeed. Yeah, I still think this is a quality team that, you know, might just get beat up so much early on just by the schedule gods that they might be digging themselves into a hole. But, you know, just because they have some tough matchups does not mean they're not capable of pulling out wins against like Conor or Jake or Ruthvik or myself. So we'll see what happens. But you would have liked to have seen them take one of these first 2 against you and Erik, just with how tough their first few weeks are. And they almost did this week, to their credit, but wasn't.
They almost did. But another team that almost won this week against a good team was Conor. He took you to the wire. He led most of the week. He was up 8-2, something like that in the middle of the week. But you rallied and you ended up on top, 6-5-1. How did you feel about your team this week?
It's amazing when we're dealing with small sample sizes, just how much things can change. Like, for example, you know, we all get Erik's offense this week and it hit 260. He had a 267 OBP and 33 RBIs after having 100 RBIs last week. You know, my pitching staff last week was abysmal. This week they had a 233 ERA, which somehow was not the lowest or the second lowest or even the third lowest ERA this week, which I think shows you how good the pitching was this week and not the hitting. All my top pitchers got quality starts or came close to it this week. Cole ended the week with a quality start. Nola was just fantastic here on Sunday Night Baseball. Woodruff and Fried both pitched, I think, like 7 shutout innings. Each of them only gave up a hit. Urias is still on a pitch count, so he hit through 5 innings, 1 earned, was good. Yuki, as you laughed at me yesterday, 5 2/3, 2 earned. So, like, pitching staff very much turned it around this week. 5 quality starts in 11 starts. I was very happy about that. And hitting not as strong, but a down offensive week for everyone. My 41 RBIs is actually kind of on the higher end. I'll take that. The 8 homers is kind of in the middle of the pack. The runs numbers were enough to beat Conor. That ended up being a difference maker. Into stolen bases too. It's been, I do have to say, it's been interesting because I've been punting stolen bases the last couple years, and not really expecting it to win it at all. And now I have Miles Straw, who actually, I don't think Miles Straw even stole a base this week, but Jorge Mateo has stolen 4 bases in his last 3 games. He's leading the league with 7 stolen bases. And had I not started him this week, the games I did start him, I would have just tied with Conor. So, it's a little interesting. I don't know how this is going to hold up, but my team's been still happy the first few weeks. I'm leading the league in steals. So, or I was going into today. I'm pretty sure I'm still am. So we'll see how that plays out. It's a little interesting tidbit. As for Conor had a fantastic week. I mean, he was one of the few teams that had a good week with the bat. You looked like you were going to be one of those teams OBP wise, but you're not. But there are only 2 teams that had an OBP above 325 this week, and Conor was one of them. 10 homers, 45 ribbies, very solid. The pitching just wasn't enough. What it came down to was I had Cole and Nola today. He had Robbie Ray, Giolito, and Aaron Savali with a narrow quality start lead for me and a narrow leads in ERA and a whip. Savali started shitting the bed from the beginning, and that kind of set the tone. Giolito wasn't that sharp coming off the IL. Ray threw a quality start, but it just wasn't enough as Cole threw 6 2/3 shutout innings. Nola threw 7 shutout innings, and I got a third of a shutout inning from Tyler Matzik. So, solid week for Conor. It was nice for me to avenge last year's semis matchup, although this in no way makes up for that. And thank God, because if I had started 0-2, especially with you and Erik starting 2-0, that would not have been good. That really, really would not have been good. So I'll take it.
Yeah, that could have been disastrous for you. But you did not lose. You came out on top. Yeah. Moving on. Now let's go to the last matchup that became official. Let's talk about Andrew versus Anthony. This one very, very nearly could have gone a different way, but that really only got close today. Andrew led by a ton going into today. Really most of the week, this did not look close at all. Anthony looked dead in the water. His team looked like they were never going to win or put together anything at any point this season. He put together a good day, good final day. He hit 4 doubles, drove in 6 runs, stole a couple bases that gave him a cushion there. And his on base percentage was 219. He brought it up to 299. His ERA was good. Alek Manoah has been phenomenal to start the year. But Andrew ended up winning despite the higher ERA. He hit 9 home runs, which doesn't seem like a lot, but is one of the higher totals for the week. Same with his 38 RBI. And he just did enough. He got 5 saves as well. Most of those coming from Knebel and Romano, but also one from Craig Kimbrell. And I think this is one, just another one that was not at all close until it suddenly was on the final day.
Yeah, I do wonder with Anthony's team if there is some positive regression coming, just because like Grandal has been terrible to start the season, and Kyle Tucker has been like having like ridiculously bad luck to start the season. Jonathan Scope has been in kind of one of his slumps before he'll inevitably break out on a tear for a little bit. Ramon Laureano is going to come back. He does still have some pitching performances, as you said, have been pretty solid this week. So I wonder if, like, for as bad as he's playing right now, like he showed some of the signs this week that he could bounce back and be better. I was encouraged by the pitching, although the whip at 126 was a little higher than you would expect with a 2.49 ERA. Wasn't enough to get him, past Andrew, but I wonder if brighter days are ahead for him. Who does he play next week? He plays Alex and Zach in what could be a very winnable game. And honestly, he probably needs to win that one because then he plays you, me, and Conor in 3 straight weeks.
Ouch.
And that could really sink a season. A win next week seems kind of like needed. As for Andrew, he pitched very well this week, in terms of kind of some of the counting categories. His ERA wasn't the best at 4.19, especially on what was a really good pitching week. Actually, was that the worst ERA this week? If that's the worst ERA in a week, that's saying something. Okay, yeah, his 4.19 was the worst ERA this week. But that's still not a terrible ERA. 1.18 whip was fine. I mean, he did just enough. I don't really have too much to say about his team. I think, we all kind of knew this to be a bit of a transition year. We were going to see what happened. Some of these guys kind of get off the faster starts in the majors. Maybe he can compete, but who knows? One interesting thing about Anthony's team I wanted to discuss is Michael Conforto. He will not be playing in the majors this year due to shoulder surgery. We talked about his trade with Ruthvik last week to get Conforto for Haniger. I don't think either of us really understood the trade at the time. And not only is Conforto out for the rest of the season, but Conforto is not IL eligible because he is not on a team. So Anthony either has to carry him for the rest of the year or cut him.
That is brutal.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do there. Does he keep Conforto all year or does he cut him?
I don't know. I think it depends on whether he decides he needs the spot. If he racks off a couple wins in a row and suddenly he's back in the playoff picture, I think he's going to want that spot, right? He's currently listed day to day on the thing. And he's rostering Ramon Laureano, who's suspended.
Laureano started a rehab assignment. I think Laureano is going to be back within the next week to 10 days, I think. So that's at least going to remove that. But there are other instances where you could have players who are out too. He's not, day-to-day guys, like Buxton this week for Conor, for example, is day-to-day for half the week, but he wasn't on the IL. And it's going to be hard to deal with for multiple matchups or multiple days.
It absolutely is. Yeah, he's gonna have to make some trades, and hopefully they're not like the Conforto trade because that put him into a worse situation.
Now, if I'm him, I think I hold on to Conforto for the next month because over the next month, as I just mentioned, he plays Alex and Zach, but then he plays Yumi and Conor in 3 consecutive weeks. If he comes out of that 2-2 between those 4 weeks or better, I think maybe he could start thinking, hey, maybe I could drop someone to kind of help make a push. If he loses to Yumi and Conor and Alex as well, I don't, he's not going to make the playoffs. You might as well keep Conforto because Conforto is probably better than most of what's on the waiver wire, or he could cut a guy like Erik or something, to go pick up the guy on the waiver wire instead. So I'll probably hold on to him for a little while longer because if not, I think some rebuilding team, if I'm Yuki right now, I'm definitely calling Anthony and being like, hey, what's the price on Conforto? I will lowball you just to get him off your roster.
That's true, but also I'm not sure I'm convinced the Yuki's team is worse than Anthony's team.
Yeah, but I'm not convinced that Yuki's team is a playoff team, and I don't know how Anthony views himself. If Anthony views himself as a playoff team or somebody who wants to contend and wants a piece who's going to play this year, maybe he is. Maybe he wants to get somebody who's going to play this year. Although I feel like when he did trade for Conforto, he had to recognize that Conforto was going to miss some time. Like he wasn't just immediately going to contribute for his team, because even if he signed somewhere and was healthy, he needed some ramp up. So I don't know. I think it's something we should keep our eye out on, but I don't know if anything's going to happen immediately on that front.
I don't know, but let's move on to another matchup that suddenly became close on the last day. That was Ruthvik and Nick versus Jake. That one, Jake had a big lead for most of the week, but a lot of the categories were close. We kind of noted, hey, Ruthvik has the potential to make a comeback here, and he almost did. He made it 7-5. Both teams pitched spectacularly, but in the end, Jake's pitchers were just too good. He struck out 81. He had a 2.03 ERA, 0.88 WHIP. Just looking down at that team, I mean, Frankie Montas put together a terrific week. Carlos Carrasco made a good start. Sandy Alcantara pitched 8 shutout innings. And even the bullpen, really, especially the bullpen, Hansel Robles, Taylor Rogers, Rizal Iglesias, they only got 3 saves and 3 holds combined out of this bullpen, but they all just kind of, really with the exception of Jake Diekman, put together solid relief appearances. And the rotation, I didn't mention Carlos Rodon, but he pitched 5 shutout innings. Yeah, Jake's team pitched great. Ruthvik's team, the raw numbers look good, but really compared to the rest of the league, they were kind of mediocre, with the 2.86 ERA and the 1.23 WHIP. Although his offense with 49 runs, I believe, was the high for the week.
His home run total was the high for the week too. His RBI total was near the lead, and his OBP led the league. So like he probably the best. If you're ranking the offensive leagues, he probably the best offensive week. And it's not even like he had a bad pitching week. He just got outpitched by Jake's team, who had.
I think relative to the rest of the league, it was kind of a mediocre pitching week.
You're probably right, especially with WHIP. But like in a normal week, he's not getting swept in the pitching categories with those stats. He's not going to win them all, especially with only 1 save and 1 hold. But he's not getting swept in them.
That's fair.
Probably winning 1 or 2, and it's probably enough for him to win most weeks.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Like comparatively to this week, not as good, but I think he had a solid week overall.
Yeah, and I think the real story here is how well his hitters did. Because this is not really a top hitting team per se, but Ty France, I mean, he went 5 for 5 on Saturday with a homer. His week was terrific. Charlie Blackmon had a great week. Hey, Adam Frazier stole a base, 367 OBP. He's this team lives and dies with the Mariners, and the Mariners had a great week.
Yeah, I think you might have cut Adam Frazier too soon.
I'd rather have Nicky Lopez than Adam Frazier. But oh my God, Adam Frazier's up to 51% roster. Maybe I
think you want him more to Nicky Lopez, but I think Nicky Lopez is more long-term utility, and I think I may rather have Nicky Lopez right now. But I'm sure you could have found somebody else to cut for Adam Frazier.
I don't know. The only other person I would have cut is Alec Bohm, and I'm happy I didn't cut him either.
Yeah. What was scary too is like if Ruthvik's offense here like keeps playing solid. I mean, there are some pieces here. You know, Acuna has not played yet, and I think they announced today he's going to make his debut May 6th, I believe was the day. I might be off a day or two. And Haniger has not played since April 15th, so he didn't play at all this week, but he basically has not played since Ruthvik acquired him. Ruthvik only had him for 3 days before he landed on the COVID IL. So there's still some room for growth here with some of the guys he has. I'm not saying it's all going to pan out for him, but there's certainly some potential. If he gets DeGrom back too, he it was just like a bad week for him with the saves and the holds luck-wise, because Lou Trevino was on the COVID IL all week, but he had Oakland had multiple save opportunities this week he probably would have taken advantage of. Paul Sewald, too, was on the IL, probably also would have, instead of Drew Steckenrider blowing the save today, I'm sure Paul Sewald might have come in, and all of a sudden it might be a different matchup. So, or if Anthony Bender doesn't get hurt today or yesterday, whenever it was, so he wasn't able to pitch in a safe situation today, who knows? But I know Ruthvik, it's dropping to 1-1, but I think there's a lot of good things for him to take away from this week. Certainly from Jake's team too, 2-0. I think he should be very happy with his performance so far, but they have had one of the league's easier schedules. And I am curious to see, they played Yuki and then they played Ruthvik. They get a real test next week against Erik. And I'm really curious to see how that one goes. Because their schedule actually is not that hard after that until like May or the end of May. So Erik might be their one true test early in the season here. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but that'll be interesting to watch. Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Are we ready to talk about the next matchup?
Yeah. Do we want to talk about my matchup?
Yeah, let's do it. Speaking of teams with relatively easier starts of the season.
Yeah, I started out 2-0. Yuki put up much more of a fight than EBO did against me. Yuki, I gotta say, he's a good streamer. Yuki really knows how to. I don't know. Am I gonna call him Erik Light? He's streaming incredibly well to start the season. It hasn't turned into wins, but it's turned into 2 almost wins. And well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't call the first one an almost win.
I wouldn't call this an almost win.
No, but I don't know. It felt close. Maybe it feels closer than it.
You were in it and you were stressed about it. But when you looked at it with any objectivity, this matchup has been over for days. You needed like a confluence of very unlikely events to happen. And the more unlikely events you multiply by each other, it becomes even unlikelier. That is going to happen.
I don't know. Maybe it feels harder when it's a team that I know I should beat anyway, but I don't know. I think Yuki streamed incredibly well this week. He got 6 saves and 3 holds. His ERA was 2.26. He swung the bat fine. I mean, 36 runs was probably above average for the week. He also stole 4 bags. He got a good week out of Luis Arise, and he got a good week out of Austin Riley. I don't know. His team's interesting. As for my team, I was a lot prouder of my team earlier in the week. I was riding like a 370 on base for most of the week before I absolutely tanked it over the weekend. I finished at 325 on the nose. I don't know, 10 homers was one of the better marks. Anthony Rizzo put together another solid week. Francisco Lindor is kind of carrying my team as well.
Yeah, that's been good for you after all the question marks after the relatively mediocre season he had last year. You needed him to get off to a hot start.
That's true. He did get off to a hot start. What else? Let's talk about Sean Murphy.
Oh my God.
Sean Murphy is number 1 among catchers in the player radar, scanning the world for players. He's great. I got him for basically free. He got hit by a pitch in his butt and it went viral. It did. Sean Murphy, the butt man.
The only thing that makes me happy about this is I get an extra 3rd round pick from you if Sean Murphy is top 5 on the player radar.
In the player radar.
The player radar. I'm only going to refer to it as a player radar now. That's amazing. But the other thing that makes me feel better about this is Wilson Contreras is number 2 in the player radar. So
Yeah, no, I'm sure you'd be feeling a lot worse if Wilson Contreras wasn't great. I think you did a good job in that deal.
yeah, although if he does finish in the top 2, I do owe my next second round pick to EBO. So I guess technically, as of right now, I would be slated to owe EBO another pick, but it's a long season. So anything can happen, including Sean Murphy slowing down.
That's true. That could happen. It's unlikely.
Yeah.
I guess the one other thing I wanted to mention on my team is that my pitchers' starts are not spread out at all. And maybe that's kind of why it felt closer than it was, because at one point it was 6-5-1 on Saturday. But basically, I had 0 starts Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, and then 5 Saturday, 3 Sunday. It was weird. And I'm sure that's going to get spread out more as there are off days and whatnot. But yeah, that's just kind of a funny observation.
No, it will. And I think when you were concerned yesterday about some of the pitching categories being close, I was like, you have Kershaw and Minaya, and you had somebody else go today too.
McClanahan.
You did end up starting Minaya, which actually really paid off. You had that kind of in your back pocket. So all Yuki had was Chad Kuhl today, who, to Chad Kuhl's credit, he has been very good to start the season. I don't know if this is necessarily
very cool.
He's been very
Thank
cool.
you, Chad. Very cool.
I don't know if this is necessarily sustainable by him, but it's not. But it's fun while it lasts. And I did make the hot take to annoy Andrew before the season that Chad Kuhl will win the NL Cy Young. And I think right now, if they did do a vote for the NL Cy Young, Chad Kuhl probably get some votes. So he has a sub-1 ERA.
Stop the count right now. Very Chad and very cool.
Yes. While we're on the topic of your matchup, though, one thing I wanted to ask you, Yuki's had a lot of success this year streaming, as you've mentioned, but especially out of the bullpen. He's third. Entering today, he was third in the league for saves, second for holds. Is he this year's EBO? He is last in quality starts too.
No, I don't. I mean, he's maybe doing a similar thing a little bit, but I don't think he's trying to. If he was trying to do that, I don't know. He does not have very many starters, does he?
And Clayton Kershaw right before the season. So who's even left?
I don't think he's got Plesac, and he picked up Paul Blackburn. He's got Ian Anderson. I don't think he would still have Miles Michaelis if he was doing that, but I don't know.
Michaelis has been pitching well, but Michaelis also seems like somebody he could just cut. Like Michaelis will have stretches like this where he pitches pretty decently, but like not with a lot of upside, and then he like shits the bed for a couple starts and just gets cut. And I wonder if, I don't know. I'm not saying he is doing it, but I wonder if it is a possibility at some point. Like maybe he could pivot to doing that. It's not like he's going to win quality starts most weeks with top 6 of Ian Anderson, Cal Quantrill, Drew Rasmussen, Zach Plesac, Paul Blackburn, and Miles Michaelis.
Hey, don't forget Chad Kuhl.
And Chad Kuhl. My apologies, Chad Kuhl.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is the type of thing where he trades Chad Kuhl right now. I bet he gets a non-zero return for him. That'd be worth it.
You really think so? I think he gets like a 3rd round pick for Chad Kuhl.
I don't know. I think if I were Yuki, I'd sell high on Chad Kuhl right now. I think someone would do something.
I'd sell him for literally anything. Like the peripherals do not back this up. Not to this degree, especially. Honestly, if I'm Yuki, because like Ian Anderson, I feel like might be a little bigger name at this point than an actual asset. I wonder if you're selling Ian Anderson and Cal Quantrill right now, getting a decent return from them, and just going full EBO.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think I think we as hosts tell Yuki what to do more than we do any other team. We're like, hey Yuki, do this more than we are for any other team. I just kind of find that funny.
Oh, he did trade JT Real Muto.
He did.
Kind of
Maybe we can bully him into trading Chad Kuhl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he should.
All right.
We spent a lot of time talking about Yuki's rotation. What other matchups do we have to talk about?
All right. We just got one matchup left.
Let's do
and that is the Tendies beat the Bellies 8-2. Not really a lot to talk about there. Both these teams are moving to 1-1. We already mentioned the Bellies were in danger of having the worst on base percentage ever, but they kind of came out of it on the last day or two. The Tendies, I guess the one interesting thing about this matchup was the Tendies, they pitched phenomenally. 1.95 ERA, 1.07 WHIP.
That's the best ERA of anybody this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Logan Gilbert is breaking out. He's now made 3 ridiculously good starts this year. He went 6.2 innings on the 20th. Joe Ryan looks good. This Jesus Luzardo, he didn't pitch great this week, at least in his first start. He bounced back in the second one, but Jesus Luzardo, I'm kind of coming around on this rotation. I really am.
Yeah, there's some pieces here. I mean, they inevitably all were not going to pan out, and there's some that I definitely like better than others. But I thought the Jesus Luzardo gamble and the trade they made this offseason was a really good one. And I think there's some potential there. I really like the Bruce Zimmerman picked up. He's looked really solid for the Orioles so far, and I wonder if he's able to keep this up. Joe Ryan's looked really good. Freddie Peralta has been a little bit of a mixed bag, but he has the track record. Logan Gilbert's been only given up 1 run in 3 starts this year. He's been really good. So there's some potential. And they still have a bunch of players on their minor league roster who have yet to come up for them, but they are up here in the majors playing, including Julio Rodriguez, Josh Lowe, and CJ Abrams. And as of today, because Luke Voigt went on the IL, Luis Campusano, Glenn Otto, and Josh Winder too. So it'll be interesting to see how they make room for some of these guys over the next couple of weeks, and also just how these young players are going to help their team. I know that Alex kind of threw out there this week that he's interested in making a move or two. So I wonder if anything comes to fruition there.
Yeah, maybe. And as for the Bellies, not a lot to say, but Cody Bellinger's maybe back. He had a phenomenal week. He's slugging .471. He homered 3 times this week with a .350 on base percentage. I think he might have found a swing again.
He had 2 monster shots to center today against the Padres.
Yeah.
Like one of them was dead center. He looks good. I don't know if it's going to last, but we'll see what happens there. I'm still not totally convinced he's back, but because he did still start out the season a little slow, but this week is definitely encouraging. What is he up to now? 132 WRC plus, 321 OBP. His K rate's at 32.1. He's going to have to get that down. But yeah, you're right. Definitely some reasons to be positive. But yeah, anything else on these matchups? Oh, I actually had one more thing. Twice in the history of this league have we had matchups where we dubbed the pitcher to hitter, where you win all the pitching categories and lose all of the hitting categories. And that almost happened this week. Clayton and Jake won doubles against Ruthvik and Nick, but Ruthvik and Nick won all the other hitting categories and lost all their pitching categories. Became very close to another pitcher or the hitter, but fell just short.
That's fun, and that is tragic that we just missed out on it. It would have been a lot of fun to have in a week where no one challenged any positive records or anything like that. Certainly 3 teams challenging the worst ever of something. But
This is the
yeah,
opposite.
no,
Remember, week 2 last year was when Conor broke the ERA and WHIP records.
it was, yeah, a lot of great pitching performances, or yeah, a lot of records fell in 2021. So I'm expecting some to fall in 2022 as well. But yeah, Conor's week 2 last year was off the charts. But yeah, hopefully something falls in week 3. And it's a good thing, hopefully.
It is indeed. All right, let's flip over to next week's matchups. But before we do, let's have a hockey update. It is still 6-6. Evil still down by 1 in plus minus, down 3 blocks. Let's see how Husso is doing. The Blues have scored 3 goals, so he's not winning.
Uh-oh.
With 16:31 left in the third. They're up by 2. A win there ties that category. Let's see how Fleury is also winning his matchup.
Oh, yeah, so
He is up 4-3.
So if they both win, then Andrew still wins. But wow.
Yes. Boy, yeah. But I mean, plus minus could still flip.
Yeah, plus minus could still flip. This, boy, oh boy.
This is still close. Yeah, it's still anybody's game.
Yeah, and to have a 6 seed win the finals would be ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I think before this past season in the Dynasty Baseball League, I don't think a non-1 or 2 seed had won at all.
No, and I don't think a non-1 or 2 seed had ever made the finals, but this year was 3 versus 4.
Yes, that is also true. No, you know what? A 3 seed has made it to the finals because EVO is a 3 seed year one. They beat me. I was a 2 seed in the semis back when we only had 4 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And did the 2-week playoff matchups. So then they lost as 1v3. I take that back. But a non-top 3 seed had not made it before Conor. Matchups to watch for next week. Which ones do we want to highlight? Let's see if we could pull up next week's schedule here.
Yeah, so this following week, there are definitely some interesting ones. The one I want to talk about the most is the only matchup between 2-2-0 teams, and that is Erik versus Jake. Both teams have looked really solid to start the year, particularly Jake. Jake's team is kind of firing on all cylinders right now. They're both 2-0. I guess I'll let you know in the predictions who I expect to win, but this could be a huge matchup for Jake, proving himself as a legit contender if he can pull it off.
It could, yeah. His team has certainly looked good so far. He has played a couple weaker teams, although I think he would have beat most teams this week at the stats he put up. And we'll see what happens. Is it just a hot couple weeks to start out with, or has his team made some changes that are really legit? I think there's certainly some reason to believe that both are possible. So we shall see what happens there. The matchup I wanted to talk about was not that one. I want to talk about one that I think has some breaking news. Evil has jumped into the lead.
Oh, what happened? Plus minus? Who scored?
It is plus minus. This was the Predators, a goal by Fabro. I think that's how you pronounce it. And that ties it up, that matchup. That goal was against Fleury. So it's 4-4 now in that game.
Oh, God. Fleury might not get the win. Andrew is in trouble.
Yeah, and plus minus is now. And now we are leading in plus minus because the Blues just scored a goal. Buchnevich just scored. Wow. Evil has the lead. 7-5.
A lot of hockey to go, but this.
It's not looking good for Andrew at the moment. But you're right. A lot of things can flip. It is still early. But, oh, man. Well, speaking of evil, the matchup I wanted to talk about for this week was Conor and EBO. Conor is 1-1. EBO is 0-2. But both of these teams, it really feels like could really use a win here. We mentioned earlier how hard EBO's schedule is to start the season. I mean, this is ridiculous. The fact that they're playing a finalist from last year.
St. Louis just scored again. The Blues just scored again.
Oh, so
let's see how that affected plus minus. I don't think it did, but now that's 6-2. Looks like Huso's basically locked up the win.
Wow. Okay.
Oh no, Andrew had a player on the ice. He tied plus minus just now.
Oh, I don't like that. All right. Keep an eye on that.
Wait, no. You had you had Cam Fowler on the ice who for Anaheim, so he was so you lost a plus. That's what it was.
Okay. Keep looking at that as I finish up talking about Conor and EBO here. It feels like a must-win for EBO, as we mentioned earlier, because their start of this schedule is just ridiculous. It's weird when they're playing a finalist this week, and that's probably the easiest of the matchups they've had to start the season after playing you and Erik week 1 and week 2. They could really use a win. As for Conor, after coming off a disappointing loss to me this week, he really doesn't want to start 1-2. He really needs to be one of these top seeds. He really needs to beat some of these teams that we're projecting kind of in the 5 to 8 range seed wise. So I think this is low key a big week for both of them. I hesitate in saying, I think every week is generally a big week, but I hesitate on saying that any week is like a make it or break it week for anybody. But I feel like both of these teams could really use this win. So without further ado, unless there's any quick hockey updates before we make picks.
Nothing yet.
All right. So before we give our picks for this week, let's review last week. Cam and I both picked Alex and Zach to beat Daniel and Greg. We were both right. We both picked Cam and Erik and myself to beat Yuki, EBO, and Conor, respectively, and we're correct there. We both picked Ruthvik and Nick to beat Jake, and Ruthvik and Nick did not win. I'm really annoyed because I either told you right at the end of the episode or like right off the air as soon as we finished, like, man, maybe I should have picked Jake.
I regretted picking Ruthvik almost immediately too.
Yeah, I was like, I could have gone 6-0 this week in a pick 'em, but I don't know if either of us went 6-0 at any week last year. I'd have to go back and check that. But you picked Andrew and Anthony to tie. I picked Andrew to win outright. It almost ended in a tie, but Andrew did outright win. I went 5-1 on the week to improve to 8-4. You won 4-1-1 on the week to go to 7-3-2, which means that if I can do math is hard. Oh no, we're tied because two ties means a 1-1. So 8-4. We have the same winning percentage. It's just in a different form because yours is in the form of 2 ties. Let me type in this week's matchups on the sheet. And then I'm guessing, as usual, I'm making the picks first.
Yeah, sure.
Oh man. All right. I'll start with some of the easier ones to get out of the way. I think I will beat Yuki. I think you will beat Daniel and Greg. I think Alex and Zach will beat Anthony. I think, this Ruthvik and Nick and Andrew matchup is pretty good too. That could have been worth talking about as well. These are 3 really hard matchups to pick after this here. I don't want to pick ties for any of these matchups because that just seems like way too much of a cop out. You know how much I hate cop outs. Ruthvik and Nick do have Bieber and Barrios on 2 start weeks. And Andrew has Framber on a 2 start week. And maybe Marquez. I'm going to give it to Ruthvik just because I think the quality of the pitching is going to be there for him if he's getting 2 Bieber starts and 2 Barrios starts. And his offense is playing very well. So give me Ruthvik and Nick there. As for, Conor and EBO, that's another tricky one. My concern with Conor's team right now is that, and we didn't mention this earlier, but this is really worth mentioning. Eloy's now out 6 to 8 weeks. Moncada's on the IL. Luis Robert may or may not be back on Monday. Give me EBO. I just think they have better starts this week, and I'm a little worried about the White Sox injuries for Conor. Those are 2 of his best players. Erik and Jake is a toss-up. And as fun as it would be for me to pick Jake, I feel like every time I pick against Erik, his team does really well. And I do think he does have the better team, so give me Erik.
I am going to pick you to beat Yuki, although this one is probably going to be closer than we're expecting. Yuki beat you last time.
Let's not think about that one.
I think I'm going to have no trouble with Daniel and Greg. I think Anthony needs a win. I think he'll pull one out against Alex and Zach. Because if he doesn't get a win here, it's going to be a while before he gets one. I think Ruthvik and Nick will beat Andrew. I think, now it gets tough. I think Erik will beat Jake. And I am going to pick a tie in Conor versus EBO. That's my tie of the week. EBO loves to tie. They haven't tied yet this year. I think it's going to happen this week. This feels EBO's 0-2. I don't think they're going to. I think they started 0-2-1 last year as well. And I think Conor's playing well, but it's not going to overcome the EBO tie magic.
That's fair. I don't know if EBO has that tie magic this year. I'm not going to lie. Although if Evil and Andrew finishes in a tie, then with Andrew then winning it with a tiebreaker, I might stand corrected. Although Evil still has the lead as of right now. So, yeah, to review, Cam and I were both picking ourselves to win. Shocker, I know. We're both picking Ruthvik and Nick to win. And we're both picking Erik to win. I'm picking EBO to beat Conor. Cam's picking a tie. I'm picking Alex and Zach over Anthony. Cam is picking Anthony over Alex and Zach. And those are our week 3 picks. We are now 2 weeks in the book. 1/10 of the season is over.
1/10 of the season is over. It happened so fast.
It really did. And that is episode 75. Episode 75 also felt like it came kind of fast.
It did. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah,
everything's going quickly. We'll be at 100 soon enough.
We will. And next week will be a last ever thing for the podcast. We will reveal what that is next week. But it's going to be the end of an era.
Yeah, I don't fully know what you're talking about, so I guess we'll see.
We literally talked about it off air.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be surprised next week because I already forget.
Does everything I say go in one ear and out the other?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's probably been that way since I ranted for 20 minutes about Captain Biggio. And you're like, this motherfucker. I chose him to co-host a podcast with.
And
my God. And now the funny part is like a year later, traded him for 2028 third round pick. Like he's not even relevant anymore.
And me and Michael Resnick could have had the best podcast.
Oh my God.
But Anyway, it's been fun. Another great week. Looking forward to hopefully being 3-0 when we talk next. I don't want to speak too soon, but until next time.
Until next time, indeed.
If I could write you a song to make you fall in love, I would already have you up under my arm. I used up all of my tricks, I hope that you like this, but you probably won't. You think you're cooler than me. You got designer shades just to hide your face, and you wear them around like you're cooler than me. And you never say hey or remember my name, and it's probably cause you think you're cooler than me.
God, I am feeling the alcohol I've been drinking. Very suddenly. I was not feeling it 2 minutes ago.
We've been talking for over an hour too, so you probably had the full thing or close to it.
I have had the full thing. You're very right.
Oh my God, yeah.
This is all going at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So let me start that sentence again.
Yeah, I probably should.